Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. His name is Steve Smith, and he wrote in 2016 the book, The Psychopath Machine, The Story of Resistance and Survival. I've read it in its entirety, and we were talking for 20 minutes in the pre-show, just kind of talking about information. I did some background information. The book is about him, but it's also about his brother is involved in his story, and it goes all the way back to these tests that took place in Oak Ridge, which is, I think it's north of Toronto or in a suburb of Toronto. But a lot of that stuff is gone. And he's done a video on the Fifth Estate. I guess it was done a couple of years ago. It's called Psychiatric Treatment or Tortures. You can watch him in that. So I'll put a link to that on YouTube. And maybe we'll pull it up because we can show some of these notorious characters. But on the intro to The Psychopath Machine, kind of famous author John Ronson, who wrote The Men Who Stare at Goats and The Psychopath Test, kind of overlapping themes. In this book, The Psychopath Machine, he writes about that, but he acknowledged that Steve was at this facility. And a lot of this stuff I've read, so much stuff. I've done shows on you and Cameron, and a lot of the kind of information that comes out. George Estabrooks, Dr. Shefflin, I've done the mind controllers stuff. So a lot of this stuff really rings true with other tests that were taking place around the time Steve was in the hospital. But he can talk more about that. So Steve Smith, welcome to the show.
Hi, William. Nice to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, cool. So go ahead.
Yeah, we talked for about 20 minutes before, so we'll have to kind of just backtrack and maybe go over some of the things we've already talked about.
But it all started kind of, you were a younger person, kind of didn't expect to end up in this kind of environment. You got arrested for, I think, stealing a car and maybe had some drugs. And you were kind of part of the hippie movement, right? Or maybe the Beat generation or something like that.
Yeah, it was the 60s, So this story is 50 years old, but it's still contemporary because things are still unfolding about this. Although my own experience was 50 years in the past and it was brief. I wasn't involved in it that long, but it was kind of a glancing blow, and that's probably the only reason why I'm here to talk about it. So many lives were ruined by this. I don't approach this as a victim of it. I was a witness, maybe one of the only witnesses left that could tell the story. So I got on with life afterwards, went on to successful business and retired now, living in nice estate property in the countryside. So everything turned out nicely for me. But all along, I knew that so many people suffered so much and they're silent. No one knows anything about it. It's like just whitewashed from history. So for many years before the internet existed, when you had to do research at public libraries, I started looking into this, and bit by bit, I uncovered documents and put together the whole history to the point where I guess it was 1996 was the first CBC documentary that I did called Bad Trip. You can find all these documentaries on my website, by the way.
So just what's your website address? What's your website?
It's just the psychopathmachine.com. The name of the book.com. So under the media page, if you could bring up the media page, all the documentaries that I list are all there. But the first major traction was in 1996 when I went back to Oak Ridge with the CBC and filmed this documentary. So then it was no longer just a kind of conspiracy theory. It actually started getting traction. So since then, it's evolved. It kept going. I started a class action lawsuit that 2 years ago resulted in a 10 million. Yeah, these are all the documentaries. These are all very much. This one here is very much worth watching. This is good too. Crosstalk.
Yeah, I've seen Witzke, I think is her name.
Yeah. So we did a very good interview. So anyway, this stuff is all really, well, not all of the interviews are here, but I did post a few of them. So the story kept growing and growing until it's no longer a conspiracy theory. This stuff is all well documented. They were doing atrocities to people all over, not just in Canada, not just in the U.S. This is like everywhere. The I guess the best people that you can, or the easiest people that you can experiment on, are people in mental hospitals. As soon as you're declared insane or mentally unfit or whatever, you just lose everything. Nobody cares. Suddenly you're just zeroed out. Maybe family might care if you have family, but I don't know. It's a strange group of people, very open for experimenting on, as the history of psychiatry will tell anybody. They used to give people lobotomies. Do you know there was? I may digress, but there was a doctor. His name was Freeman. I forget his first name, but he performed over 1,000 lobotomies. He had a bus that was outfitted into a clinic that he would drive around neighborhoods in the 50s, 40s, and 50s, performing lobotomies on housewives. You can look this up.
Wow, that's crazy. Walter
Yeah,
Jackson Freeman.
yeah, that's him there. So yeah, if you look over that page some other place, I will show you Dr. Boyd, who was the director of Oak Ridge. He threatened me with a lobotomy. He
Wow.
actually showed me a freaking ice pick. He did. So these kind of people, they're all over the place. They're not hard to find, but just now, because of a number of things. One being the access to information that we have now that we had never had before. It was so difficult to find this stuff. You had to go to libraries and know what to look for. But now through internet research, we can find all of this. And all of this has been put together. We know that these doctors throughout North America have been doing this for decades. I know from personal experience. And thankfully survived it, and now I'm putting this together. Now there's more to come. It's a little premature yet, but here is the first place that you've heard this announced, William. Just 5 days ago, I signed a movie deal for the book.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. So it's now I know how these things work, and a lot of more movie options never get made than do get made. So, I don't get too optimistic about this, but it's in the process. There's a good producer. There's a good screenwriter with accomplishments already that wants to do this. So,
Great.
The deal's made. We'll see.
Congrats. That's awesome. I look forward to it. It would be something I'd be interested in definitely watching.
Me too.
Yeah, I haven't seen your CBC documentaries yet, but this goes way back. 19. You're fairly young, 18 years old, right?
Yeah, I was 18. Yeah.
Can you talk about how maybe just lead people through the process? It's unbelievable. 1957. So we're at the height of the Cold
68.
War. So you were there in 68.
Yeah, 68.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
I know that, but that's long enough. That's 55 years ago.
Right. So these treatments happened in 68. Okay. So I got the dates wrong. So you were born in 1950. Is that right?
No, I was four. I shouldn't give out my birth date and name.
Okay. Sorry. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't. I don't want to know.
But I'm old. I'm an old guy.
You're 18 when it happened. So
yeah.
But you, like I said earlier, you stole a car. You had 2 tabs of LSD, fairly common at that time, right? And that's, for some reason, instead of taking you to jail, they took you to a psych hospital, right?
Yeah, it was a cascading series of events that led to it. But what's more important, so there's, a lot of young kids my age did a lot of dumb things. That wasn't particularly unusual. But what's important about all that was it wasn't just a random event. They were looking for people like me. They were fishing
for it, right?
They
wanted test subjects, right?
Oh yes, they were looking for it. I was virtually traded. I actually have a letter from a couple of the players trading me like a baseball card. in exchange, giving one patient in exchange for me. Oh yeah, I have that letter, all the official stuff, traded like a baseball card. So yeah, they were looking for subjects.
Subjects, but yeah. So then you were put in the hospital. What happened next once you were stuck in Oak Ridge?
Oh my God. You know, what can I say? It's so complicated. It's so insidious. It's so um, overwhelmingly evil that the only thing that can do it justice is go get the book and read it. Read the day-to-day events. Read what what life is like when you're tied up in handcuffs made out of seatbelt material and padlocks. And to get off of those handcuffs, you have to not complain. If you bitch or complain or yell or make any objection to being tied up, um, sometimes really bad, really painful positions. If you object, well, then you just stay there longer. Seriously, brainwashing techniques learned in China. First of all, this guy you're looking at, Barker, right here on the screen, that's him when he was young. Let's start with him. He he graduated in 1964, I believe, 65 maybe, from University of Toronto. His first posting was with as assistant director at Oak Ridge. He was hired by Dr. Barry Boyd, who was a CIA guy.
Oh, wow.
That's another
Okay.
story.
Okay.
So he was hired right out of university. He didn't go to work right away, though. He was given a 1 year sabbatical where he traveled all over the world to study various brainwashing techniques. I have all of this. I have the proof of this, not just me saying this. You want the documents? I'll give them to you. He traveled to China. Now, amazing. Communist China was not opened till what, 1970 something by Nixon. You could not travel to China. No Westerners went to China for reasons such as this, but he did. He went to China. I have the proof. He went to China to a prison camp and studied Chinese interrogation and brainwashing techniques. He then went to Israel and lived on a kibbutz where he studied under Martin Buber. You might look him up to see what kind of thing he is. Then he went to East Germany, not West Germany, communist Germany, or under Soviet control, and studied their techniques. Then he came back to Canada, to Oak Ridge, and set up the therapeutic community based on what he had learned in the previous year of travel. I have this in his own words. I have this in his own emails to me, in his own correspondence with me. So, I'm not making any of this up. It's all there for those who want to look. So this guy, that's where he got his start. So from that, you can kind of extrapolate what kind of programs might have taken place.
Right. And he flat out said that he learned his stuff in communist China and that's what he
Yep,
was doing, right? I mean,
that's what he
but
was doing.
what's also strange is like you were underwent all these experiments and things like that, but you were in there with some very devious characters. Like,
Oh yeah,
can you talk
these were
about that?
not these weren't a bunch of innocent kids. This was man, this was a snake pit full of really bad people. People you don't want to bring home to meet your mother, for sure.
That's like
Murderers.
Hannibal Lecter level.
Oh
Hannibal
yeah,
Lecter, yeah.
Peter Woodcock. Bring up Peter Woodcock. Type in Peter Woodcock and look at him. He murdered 4 kids, 4 children. Um, I was handcuffed to that guy a lot. They let him out after he was in there for 40 years. Yeah, this guy. He was in there for 40 years. They let him out once on a day pass and he killed again.
Right. He
Hannibal
like
Lecter. Yeah,
right. Like incredible. Yeah.
he doesn't look like Hannibal Lecter, but man, he was he was a serial killer of children. I was handcuffed to this guy a lot.
And he
Doing
said that this is the ones he got caught for, right? Like he might have killed even more or
I
killed other
think,
people.
well, I I have I have it from him that he killed one more. There's one more than the 4 listed. But I'm not sure if that was just bragging. People like that brag about how many they murdered, you know. He might have been making it up, because I personally think that the kind of person he is, if he had killed 5, he would have admitted it. He would have claimed responsibility. He sees it as glory, as a anyway. When you watch the videos, the first one's called Bad Trip. This was the first one I did with CBC. When you watch that video, yeah, there's 2 versions of it. The best one is the one that says you gotta
Age
that
restricted.
that's the best one.
Okay.
So
Bad Trip. Gotcha.
yeah, when you watch this video, you will see Peter Woodcock. I meet with him again after.
Oh wow!
I meet with him when we go back to do this documentary. We meet, and he walks in. There's all these guards standing right behind him, ready to pounce on him, and it was difficult for me to do that meeting because, first of all, I'm on the CBC's dime. They're making this documentary, and this is a big deal. So I didn't really know how I should behave. I wanted to jump across the table and punch his lights out. You know, I wanted to just trash this guy. He's as evil as can be. But I had to be nice. I had to play. Well, you watch the interview and you'll see. All I can say is imagine how uncomfortable I was in there after then. That would have been 45 years later.
Right, and there was the other guy. Was it Hoffman? I forgot what his name too.
Victor Hoffman. Yeah, Victor Hoffman. He killed an entire family, 7 people in Saskatchewan back in the early 60s. Killed the whole family. Shot them all with a .22. So
it's crazy. So he was like schizophrenic, but he thought he was in communication with demons or something like that.
That guy was nuts. See, most of the people you'll meet in these documentaries, you'll see them. All of this, F Ward. F Ward is great. And by the way, let me talk about F Ward, this documentary. If not for me, no one would ever get to see. By the way, right here at the beginning, she mentions the CIA. The first words out of her mouth is, "You may know about those CIA experiments in the 50s and 60s, but what's less known is the experiments conducted by another doctor." Then off we go, and that's my story.
Gotcha. So I mean, it's really
CIA is brought into this. This was 1996 that we did this documentary. I had no hair then.
You there? Okay.
That's me there.
Gotcha. That's you on the street in Vancouver,
that's me
right?
there. Yeah. There, that's me there. That's Wayne Williams.
Are you hearing the audio? I guess the audio is not coming through.
No. But save that. You know, your people can go and watch these, because
I'll put a link to your website and the media in there.
Yeah.
But you say that what's his name? Woodcock is in here somewhere, right?
Yeah. Victor Hoffman, Peter Woodcock. Look up there. That's Woodcock.
That's him.
That's him. That's him. That's him.
He doesn't look as menacing. Like, he's older at this point.
Oh, he's a little short. He never looked menacing. He was a little tiny, skinny man. He didn't look like when you picture that kind of murderous monster, you kind of think a different image. But no, that's him. He didn't look like it at all.
Yeah, it's even scarier. He doesn't look like.
Nope. And he was a skinny little short guy.
So weird.
That's him right there. See, I'm being nice with him, showing photos. There, that's him coming in with big tough guards behind him.
And that's another thing. Like, they had big old brutes there at Oak Ridge too, right? Like
abusive
guards.
Yeah, these were just abusive people that like to knock people around. Now, another one. Look up Charles Matthew Lamb. Oh, you want a Manchurian Candidate? Let me tell you about one. Look up Charles Matthew Lamb, and then I'll tell you about him.
Oh, that's him right there.
Here we go. See him in his nice Rhodesian uniform?
Yep.
See that? Matthew Charles Lamb.
Died
Wow.
in 1920 and 28 years old. That's all I meant.
Yeah. He was there when I was there. So I was handcuffed to him as well. I met with him many times, had all kinds of conversations. He was he's also in the F Ward video. You'll see him in there, guy with long sideburns. So he, in 1965 or 64, walked up to a bus station and gunned down 4 people with a shotgun. So he was sentenced to hang. He was the first person in Canada under the new law of not guilty by reason of insanity to escape being executed. So he was sent to Oak Ridge instead. So he had already been there a few years when I arrived there. So he was one of the teachers. He was one of the important people, one of the kind of mental patients who run the asylum. That's how things work there, by the way. So he was one of Dr. Barker's favorite patients. This guy got more LSD than anybody in clinical history, as I heard at the time. Just lots of acid and lots of intense stuff with Barker. So in 1972, my dates may not be quite right, but in 72, he was released to Barker to work with Barker on his farm. He went to work with him digging fence posts, living on his farm with his wife and children. This guy's a psycho murderer under a lieutenant governor's warrant, right? So he works on the farm. Then he decides that he wants to join the military. So with Barker's assistance and his grandmother's Israeli bonds, which turns out to be a lie, but that's another story, Matt Lamb went to Israel, where he joined the IDF and fought in the Yom Kippur War. Israel denies that. They said he hitchhiked to the front line but was rejected. Bullshit. He went, I know it because I got it right from Barker. He went to Israel, joined the IDF, fought in the Yom Kippur War, came back to Canada, disillusioned with the Israeli military, went back to Barker's farm, then went to Rhodesia, the only place where a war was going on, which that's Barker's own words. Went to Rhodesia and joined the Rhodesian military, where he was killed in 76, I think it is, by his own people. Wow. That's Matthew Charles Lamb. Now, there's a couple of things about that. The guy's in a hospital for look at that, eh? The guy's in the hospital for the criminally insane for 4 murders that he never actually managed to explain. Actually, I think only 2 died. The other 2 were severely injured. So he never adequately explained that, but eventually gets out and then gets a passport. First of all, he wants to join the military. That means you want a gun. If a guy like that wants a gun, you should lock him up right away. Right away. He should have gone right back to Oak Ridge as soon as he expressed any ideology about joining a military. But nope, he goes to Israel. He gets military training. Now ask yourself, how did he get a passport to leave Canada? And why would the IDF want this guy? Why would they even want him? A psycho killer fresh out of a mental hospital. Why? The IDF is the best military in the world. Why would they take him? Well, they gave him military training. He came back to Canada with that military training and then went to Rhodesia, where he was killed. He was a hero. He died a hero in Rhodesia. You tell me how does it go from there to there? Unless he's the Manchurian candidate. Unless he's exactly what you're looking for, the programmed assassin. Yep.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, one more detail. The Wikipedia, which is filled with lies, has been changed so many times. Every time I come forward and reveal something, somebody goes in and edits the Wikipedia. Yeah. It happened over years. I watched it happen live, right? And
Wikipedia isn't reliable anymore.
I know.
It's just a baseline. It's unfortunate because when you type in names, that's the first thing that pops up on Google. but it's not a credible
Yeah,
encyclopedia.
I know.
It's too bad.
No, it's not. But you can infer some things by play. If you're smarter than they are, you can figure out what they're trying to do and failing at. So at first, the curator of this Wikipedia was IDF. He used to have, in the beginning, there was a round picture of him at the bottom, proudly wearing his IDF uniform. Why would that guy make this Wikipedia? Why would an IDF guy, I have his name, I even have his posting now. This was years ago. I know where he is now, and he's Mossad.
Wow.
He's Mossad stationed at a particular place where I know. Holy fuck. Excuse my language. But
okay. What's really interesting is this guy Lamb. Somebody did a lot of work on this guy. He's only 28 years old. They really went in detail on this guy. Like, he must be like one of those infamous serial killers in Canada lore or something like that. That's my guess.
Well, he was a one-time killer. He did that murder spree, and that was it. They had him, and this was his fate. So, if you want to talk about brainwashed people that wind up dying as mercenaries, by the way, it's illegal for a Canadian to go to Rhodesia and join the Rhodesian army and fight in the Bush War. That's illegal. Being a mercenary is not legal. You come back to Canada and you can go to jail for being a mercenary. But no, he did come back to Canada once and walked around the streets in Windsor, Ontario, where he murdered these people. He was spotted walking around the streets wearing his Rhodesian military uniform, and it scared the bejesus out of the survivors. The people that he shot that didn't die, they still live there. Wow. Yeah, he walked by the neighborhood wearing his Rhodesian Army Celia Scouts uniform that you see there. What kind of...
He was in the same thing as you, the Total Encounter capsule, right?
You'll see him in there. You'll see him in watch the movie, the documentary F Ward. He's there. F Ward,
okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
Wow, so he's in
this one up top here. He's in there. Yeah, he's
right,
in
but
there.
And now Barker's like touting his madness and torture things as functioning. It's almost like somebody in the Big just said it sounds like a Clockwork Orange. It's like that, where they were trying to take these psychopaths and change them into model, like condition them or brainwash them into model patients, because that's what he says. I mean, like I said, you got to take this Wikipedia for with a huge grain of salt. Lamanducio took, becoming the Montreal Gazette writes a model inmate. He's successful. It became a patient therapist. So you have a mass killer becoming a therapist.
Yeah,
he was helpful to the other patients. Barker told the Globe and Mail, and they look up to him.
Yeah, how about that, eh? Oh yeah,
Lamb started the newspaper. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's the stuff is over the decades. Little bits and pieces of this are like bits of a puzzle, and when you bring them all together and look at them in one place, my goodness, it's really clear what they've done, what they were doing. They were just studying. See, today we know quite a lot about psychopaths, and everybody talks about it, and they point a finger at each other and go, "You're a psychopath," but people don't really understand all that much what it is, what it means. It's not a mental illness at all. First of all, it's not even in the what's it called, the DMV, diagnostic
DSM or whatever.
Yeah, it's not even in there. It is not considered a mental illness. The same as homosexuality is not in there. It's not a mental illness. Gender dysphoria that's a mental illness, but psychopathy is not, because it's not a mental illness. It's a character type. We used to just call them pricks, bad guys, like mean people.
Mean people.
But they're people that don't have empathy. They don't have, they do not connect with humanity. They don't possess a conscience. It's an environmental adaptation. And frankly, these kinds of people have a big advantage in the society we live in, world we live in. They have an advantage. They can often become really successful by stepping on people. And
right.
You'll find
they say the heads of like CEOs of major corporations are almost all psychopaths or sociopaths.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
care.
you kind of. By the way, there's the definition of psychopath and sociopath is a made up. It's a total made up out of nothing differentiation that doesn't really exist. So a psychopath is a psychopath, and a sociopath is a psychopath who committed a crime. That's about
Right.
it.
Right. Well said.
Yeah, that's about the only difference. Or who got caught and went to jail.
Right. But this guy hit you with scopolamine too. Like they were using the devil's breath on you
Oh yeah, that
back then.
was
Like
one
it's
of the.
incredible. Like those are really heavy drugs. Like those are drugs
I know.
people sometimes they don't come back from that, right?
No, I have my clinical record with all the exact dosages of what I was getting over a period of time, handwritten, by the way, in the margins and stuff. Pretty neat. So I took those to several experts over the years. And one thing I found out for certain about all of that, they damn near killed me several times, just about fatal doses.
Wow.
Those milligrams injected intravenously, wow, some of it indicated 30 milligrams of methamphetamine intravenous IV. And
Right.
doctors looked at that and said, that's like inches away from killing someone. That's like so unethical.
Right.
So, I mean, but they
And
did
that's
it.
just like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, you got hit with everything, whether you knew it or not, right?
Oh
Whatever it
yeah. Well,
was.
I'll tell you, with scopolamine, you don't know anything after that. You just gonzo. It's
Right.
scopolamine never. It's a very psychedelic drug, hallucinogenic, but it never caught on. Never, not even with, I don't know what, the worst junkies on the streets that don't seem to care about anything. It never caught on as a recreational drug because it's just overall nightmarish. Yeah,
Right.
he used that freely.
And they give you speed to try to like I mean, it's almost very consistent with what was going on in the US where they were deliberately giving speed to people to make them more irritable and more violent. Like
Oh,
that
of
was a
course.
known fact. Yeah.
Of course. Well, I mean that was part of the whole introduction of crack cocaine into Los Angeles was to
Really.
make people more violent. It just does. They thrive off violence, you see.
Right? Yeah, it's like unbelievable.
So we can get into some political thinking about this because, after all of this politics is behind it. It's meant
Right.
to serve a purpose.
It's
So,
like a psycho-civilized society. So a lot of these drugs are to psychologically adjust you for whatever, the political people want, right? So there's a political end to it,
oh
right? Would
yeah,
you
well, you,
yeah,
you can take that anywhere, even fluoride. It's pretty clear that
right,
fluoride is like, it shouldn't be there. It's not good for your brain. People
right,
know that. But, governments insist on putting that in water.
right,
Just the whole
right.
idea of putting anything in water is abhorrent. Don't do
Right.
that. You
Right.
can't put
No.
stuff in water telling me that it's this or it's that. I don't care what you say. Don't put anything in the water,
Right.
just
And
on
it's
the
it's just
surface.
how sinister people like Barker are. They're willing to poison people for whatever ends they are and then lie to them about
Yeah,
gaslight
of
them
course.
and lie, yeah.
Well, psychopaths, aren't they? Because
Right.
they're after something. They want a goal. They have something in mind. So they'll do whatever. Uh, and it's not only them, it's the peers that
Right.
surround them
Right.
because they get constantly reinforced by the people surrounding them. Nobody says, it's terrible, you can't do that. Nobody ever challenges them.
Right. Just
They,
do it.
people follow them around with clipboards, studying them and make them
Right.
feel even more important. That's how you
Right.
make a psychopath like Dr. Barker so powerful by so many people adoring him. People came from all over the
Right.
world to study this program. He
Like
would
he's
bring
a
in,
success. Look what he did with
yeah,
Lamb. Oh my God.
yeah, he
This
would
guy's
bring
amazing.
people in from BBC in England, and they would come in and study. Oh, speaking of England, there's good evidence. Now, straight up front, I'll tell you the difference between things that I can prove with documents and the things that I really suspect with good information, but it's speculation. Um, Jimmy Savile visited Oak Ridge more than once.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, he was in and out of hospitals in the UK, so it wouldn't be surprising. Why do
Yeah.
you think that they wanted him to go to Oak Ridge?
Well, no, he wanted to go to Oak Ridge.
Well,
He
why do
went
you?
there.
Okay, why would you think he wanted to go to Oak Ridge?
Speculating. He's a
Right.
molester. That's what he does. He molests helpless people. I suppose he goes off. Here, let me give you something that may be. Look this up. Do a Google search. Look
Okay.
up Jimmy Savile and Margaret Thatcher and go to images, and I'll show you something that will explain it very clearly.
But there's a picture of them together, right?
Yes, there is. And I'll show you I'll explain to you what's in their hands, what they're showing people.
Okay, is this the picture you're looking for?
No, there's a picture of them with a check. That might be one.
He
Looks
has
like it
two
might,
checks.
yeah, but
Thatcher
there's a
sought the
better
honor.
picture. There's a better picture than that
Okay,
available.
let's see if I can find it.
Uh,
You try Google again.
Google Images usually comes up with it first. I wish I could do it here and send it to you, but it usually comes up first.
And they were friends. I mean, they're known friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, there's more to it than friends.
Checks. Let's see if I can. Let's see if that pops up. Okay. Okay. Is this the one you're looking for? Let's see.
They're
Is
holding
that
up
it?
a big check. Here we go. Here, you see that one right there? The one that NSPCC. See
Yes.
that? National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Remember that. National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. This is a check. You know about him. Now, Dr. Barker founded and operates a branch of this in Midland, Ontario, called the Canadian Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
Wow.
That's his private practice. Now, he's now closed because he's riddled with dementia and he's not there. But you can see National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children is, watch out I don't get sued, one of the biggest child trafficking networks that ever existed. They're global and they've been around forever.
It makes sense that he's involved in that.
Well,
There's
he runs the Canadian Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. One of the founding members of that society was an Oak Ridge patient by the name of Michael Mason. Michael Mason killed, I don't know how many, but he killed kids. I don't know the details. Child molester, possibly child murderer. Michael Mason was one of the co-founding members with Dr. Barker of the Canadian Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. He's listed on the founding members. You have to go to the Wayback Machine because I think they've kind of scrubbed a lot of this, but I have it printed and saved. I even have a poem written by Michael Mason about how easy it is to crush a child's skull. Yeah, and he's
super disturbing.
I know. I tell you, I got bad information. I got stuff that'll boggle the mind. So I have to be fearless about this because the Canadian government doesn't like me.
Well, I believe it. They would much rather have all this covered up and all that stuff.
First of all, I cost them $10 million in a lawsuit. Done deal. The Supreme Court won't hear the appeal, and the money has been distributed to the litigants. So there's $10 million, and who knows how much in legal fees over 20 years that they defended and deflected from the case that I brought. I cost them a lot of money. Secondly, I know this. I have the documents that prove that when these experiments were being conducted and the LSD was being dispensed, it was coming from the Trudeau Senior government, that is presumed father of Justin Trudeau. It was his government at the time that was involved, that probably participated in yet unknown ways. So this isn't a provincial matter. If it was the US, it would be a state matter. No, this is a federal matter, and that's a whole level different. So
Right.
I've got the stuff. I have this stuff that proves federal crimes, federal, if not crimes, at least certainly misdeeds. I don't know how long the statute of limitations are on some of this, but I don't think it expires on international crimes, on conspiracies. I don't think there's no statute of limitations. So
On the
I'm
10
serious.
million,
I'm not making it up.
no, on the $10 million judgment, how big was the pool of people who received funds?
28.
So 28 split out.
28.
So the
But
lawyers took half of that, and then it got split
yeah,
out.
it started off, but some people got hardly anything. Some people got such a small settlement. Here's the thing. The reason why I'm not in the lawsuit early on, after I filed this, and you can't even find a record that I filed it. It sounds like somebody else did, like the class action popped up a couple of years after I filed it. But I can prove I did because I had the statement of claim from years before and the settlement that ultimately they gave me out of court, causing me to back out of it. But they essentially backed me into a corner and forced me to back out of this lawsuit because two reasons I'm speculating. First of all, I could not demonstrate damages. I couldn't show the court that, like my life was really screwed up and
Right.
you owe me money because you wrecked my life. Because, well, look around.
Right, which assumes that the other 28 who received the funds were damaged for life. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, it's all there. It's all there in the judgment. You can look it up.
Judgment.
You can download the PDF of the judgment.
Right.
And
I think I scrolled through it. Yeah,
what everybody got and how bad was the damage. But the way I question this, I really question it. How can a judge determine how badly damaged someone is? It's a subjective thing. It's not an objective thing at all. So one of the people who got the biggest settlement is now a woman. Transsexual.
Transsexual.
Yeah, transsexual. But the way they present this in any place that you read, if you casually read about the settlement, you'll think, your assumption will be that there were women in Oak Ridge. No, this guy was a man when that happened. But they skip over that. They very subtly give the impression, oh, there must have been women in Oak Ridge too. And that one gets the biggest settlement. But no. There were no women in that program. They were in St. Thomas, but it's another big misdirection they're trying to pull off with the settlement. Biggest.
Can you talk about St. Thomas? Like there's connection. Oak Ridge didn't happen in a vacuum, right? So McGill is not that far away, Montreal.
Yeah.
Did you ever see, you saw ties to St. Thomas, but did you see any ties to you and Cameron's whole operation?
Oh, it's all tied. It's all, that came almost a decade before Oak Ridge was actually in full steam. So, you and Cameron's stuff is clearly documented what he did. Canadians won a CIA lawsuit over that some decades ago. But
what I'm asking, is there a connection between McGill and Oak Ridge? Did those guys know each other? Okay.
Well, of course they do. They all know each other. It's all connected. It's not like any of this is all done in a vacuum or independent researchers doing their own crazy stuff in their own private laboratories. Of course, it's all connected. These people are all studying the same kind of things. They're studying the human mind. They're studying behavior. They're studying how to alter behavior. And they always cover it up under a disguise of being therapeutic or good for the victim. None of it was ever good for the victim, not any of them. So yeah, it's all connected just by nature of its existence.
Right, of course. I mean, of course, the themes are the same. I'm just wondering if there's personal connection. Like they're comparing notes and things like that. Or evidence of that, I should say.
They know each other. I don't know what evidence. Photographic? I could probably.
I don't know. If it's not there, it's not there. Maybe it's there. People haven't discovered it. I don't know.
Well, but it's there by nature of the thing itself. Right. Because it is connected just, I mean, I don't know what comparison to make that would make
I
sense.
guess my point
but-
is just, is there a personal overlap? Have you seen Barker talking to camera, or is there any correspondence?
No, they're a different generation.
Okay.
They're actually 10 years separate.
10 years separate, right? But there was this thing with the women's psychiatric facility at St. Thomas, right? So there's an overlap between Oak Ridge and that. Can you talk about that?
Well, it's not what I'd call an overlap. This is a conspiracy. So we went over this before we went on air, I guess, but this is an important point. So I should make it if I haven't yet. That there was a secret, and I mean very secret, parallel program to what was going on at Oak Ridge. They weren't bringing BBC reporters there. They weren't showing it off to the world. What a great thing we have here. It was completely secretive, going on at an institution that was probably a half a day's drive from Oak Ridge, women's forensic institution, women who committed crimes and were locked up in a mental hospital. So they started a parallel program as the therapeutic community that was well established in Oak Ridge. They sent 4 men who were teachers. You read about Matt Lamb. He was described as a teacher, right? Patient teacher. So they sent 4 men from Oak Ridge postgraduates to St. Thomas Women's Ward to set up the program using seat belts to tie them up, using all kinds of physical and mental torture techniques learned in the therapeutic programs in Oak Ridge. So they were sent to this locked women's ward, and here's where it gets real weird. All 4 of those men were convicted violent rapists.
Wow.
All 4 of them, not 1, not 3, all 4 were carefully chosen. I know their names. I have their names. I know who they are. One of them is the reason why I have all of these documents. He's dead. He died. His widow gave me these documents that he had.
Isn't this one of the guys right here? Yeah.
That's him right there. God damn, what a coincidence. That's the guy right there. He was one of the 4 that was sent to St. Thomas to set up the program. There was a pregnancy, at least one that I know, and a forced adoption and a forced extradition. I have all the documents. I even have birth certificates and adoption papers from this stuff. So this was the result of rape in a locked women's ward. Now, in 20 years of litigation, 20 years, the Oak Ridge case went on, was in the courts constantly for 20 years, actually more than 20 years. That never came up, not once. No one mentioned St. Thomas. St. Thomas was completely scrubbed from any mention at all in court. Now, you would think that the lawyers representing these victims would bring that up. You would think that the defense would bring it up and saying, well, it wasn't just Oak Ridge, it was other places. We were doing the same programs other places. No, it was completely kept secret, even from the judge. The judge did not hear the information about this same stuff that he eventually ruled was cruel, unusual, and torture. You can read his definition. He called it torture. Doctors aren't allowed to do that. It's a breach of the Nuremberg Code. So
Right.
the same thing was happening to women, and they concealed it for 20 years. You tell me that's not a conspiracy?
Right. It sounds like one. I mean, it's incredible. Like, you really went through all this stuff. I mean, it's incredible. And you had kind of your brother too, had some interesting connections. He went by Steve Hislop. And,
Yeah, he stole my
was it
name.
Yeah.
He literally stole my name. He did. That's a whole other family story. But
Right. And we kind of were going through it. It was interesting because I was researching your brother. We were talking about this in the pre-show, but he was homosexual, and he was in one of these early homosexual magazine gazettes or whatever. Let me see if I can pull this up. But he's in there with an article right next to a guy who I'd just been researching. His name is Ray Broshears, who was David Ferry's roommate in New Orleans. And I think he was in David Ferry's Will, if I remember correctly. But there it is. It's Enter the Magical World of Hypnosis with hypnotist Steve Hislop. And you said his mentor, Ira McGee, was CIA connected. Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah, yeah, totally. He was the CIA guy in the San Francisco gay community.
Wow,
Um,
that's
yeah, he's an interesting guy. You should look him up.
I'll
You'll
have.
see.
I was doing a little bit of research, like we were talking the pre-shows. I've done research on some of these other CA doctors, so finding another one would be really something else. It seems like a lot of them
Yeah,
were
no, he
connected.
wasn't a doctor. He was a hypnotist.
Hypnotist. Wow.
He was
Sorry.
a stage hypnotist. He had no medical anything. Just like my
Wow.
brother had no medical training. It's a kind of dangerous thing to do. But back in the 70s and early 80s, it was a common entertainment thing. You know, like when my brother, it's in the book, when my brother came back to Canada and I found out that he wasn't dead after 10 years. For 10 years, I thought he was dead. He just
Wow.
disappeared. But yeah, he was off on a total different track in San Francisco and Los Angeles. I guess it was Los Angeles. Yeah, Los Angeles, Hollywood, Laurel Canyon. So
Right.
he
So
was
he's
on a totally different track in life than me, but paralleled. It's almost like we were both targeted. People have pointed that out, that from our early days in Sault Ste. Marie, when we were just kids, single mother, that we were targeted, both in our own different ways. Because it's just odd that we both wind up in some kind of probably CIA sponsored program of research
Mhm.
trying to alter things.
And you kind of feel like you were monitored even getting out of the system, right? I mean, even getting
Oh
out of
yeah.
yeah.
And again, like I said, it's about documents. You can't just say something. You can't just say, "Ooh, they're following me. They're watching
I'm
me."
a TI
Can't
or
just say
target
that.
individual. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't just say that because if I do, then I'm just paranoid. I understand that. But I have a document dated 1980, a government document inquiring about my whereabouts to several locations. 1980. I was there in 1969. This document that I got through Freedom of Information, looking for me in 1980. On the date that that document was written, I was in El Salvador.
Right.
I can
During
show
all
you
the
my
troubles.
passport.
Yeah.
I can show you the
Civil
stamp of my passport that shows you on the date that document was written where they were looking for me. They lost track of me. I was in El Salvador.
Yeah, dodging death squads. I mean, you've actually seen a
Yeah.
death squad up close and
Yep.
personal. Like that's
Oh,
pretty
yes, I
eye-opening.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I went out on a night ride in a flatbed truck with that was that was that was in Guatemala.
Right. And you've
Yeah.
had a pretty
See,
interesting
they
life. A lot of
lost
travels. Yeah, a lot of
they
traveling.
lost track of me when I escaped Guatemala. They were tracking me in Guatemala. There's no doubt
Wow.
about it. All that Pedro and how I was. It's in the book how I was introduced to him, how all that came about. Um, there's no question they were tracking me, but that's just my words. But I have a letter saying
That
they were
proves it.
tracking me.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Steve,
1980.
we're at the 53-minute mark. I got to wrap this up. What is there anything you'd like to add, or what else can people find in the book? And then where's the best place to get the book?
Wow, it would be nice. You can buy it on Amazon or any of the booksellers, but I really hate those people. They're just, I don't like the way they do business. But you can get the ebook and all that. But if you buy it on Etsy, Etsy,
Hmm.
ETSY, just look it up on Etsy. Then I can sign it for you. Then, because I have boxes of them here, I can sell them myself instead of going through Amazon. It's nicer to do that if you want, or you can get the ebook
And they
on
can they
Amazon.
purchase it through your website?
You
Or
can. There's a button
there you
right
go.
on
There
the
you go.
front page of my website. Click there, and that'll take you to the Etsy
That's
site.
so that's how you get to the Etsy site, and you can
Yeah.
see all of those videos that you've been in, documentaries you've been in, on the
Yeah,
media page. And is
that's
that the
right.
best place to reach out and contact you? Is through your website?
Yeah, there's a contact button there as well, and I answer everything, even people that sound really off the wall crazy that have they're like whatever CIA. I try to answer everything because damn, I remember how it was when people thought the same about me.
Yeah, no, you have an
So,
unbelievable story. You were basically like a pincushion for these guys, like
well,
incredible.
just makes you.
Morphine or whatever they were hitting you with, like
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
total abuse.
That
Yeah,
just
that's
makes you
torture.
sick.
Torture.
All it does is make you sick. It's a sickening drug. It makes you feel
Mm.
awful. It has no other purpose than that. That's what it's meant
Yeah,
for.
dude, that's like right out of Clockwork Orange. It's right out of that
Well,
stuff. Huh?
it's how to beat you with a rubber hose without beating you with a rubber hose.
Right there you go. Great. Thanks so much for your time, Steve. I really appreciate you sharing all your information. Again, the title of the book is The Psychopath Machine, a story of resistance and survival. And the author is Steve Smith. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, William. It's fun
All right,
talking
stay
to
there.
you.
Cool. Likewise. Stay there.
Ciao.
Very knowledgeable. Stay there.